Men's addiction to women who detach emotionally is a phenomenon that has been observed and analyzed through various lenses: psychological, biological, and social. This attraction, often subconscious, is deeply rooted in evolutionary instincts, early childhood experiences, societal conditioning, and the intricate dynamics of power and self-worth in relationships. The allure of emotional unavailability is paradoxical. It creates a cycle of desire, rejection, hope, and validation that many men find intoxicating, even when it leads to emotional turmoil. At its core, the fascination with emotionally detached women often stems from the chase. Men, whether through cultural programming or inherent nature, have been conditioned to enjoy the thrill of pursuit. A woman who is distant, aloof, or hard to get triggers a man's instinct to conquer and win her over. The scarcity principle plays a role here. What is less available is often perceived as more valuable. A woman who withholds affection appears to be a rare prize, and in the male psyche, this can create an almost obsessive focus on obtaining her validation. This dynamic is reinforced by the intermittent reinforcement theory, a psychological principle that suggests that rewards given at unpredictable intervals are far more powerful in conditioning behavior than those given consistently. When a woman is hot and cold, showing affection one moment and pulling away the next, it creates an addictive cycle. The man remains invested, always chasing the next moment of warmth, never knowing when it will come. The uncertainty keeps him hooked, much like a gambler at a slot machine who keeps pulling the lever, hoping for the next big win. Childhood experiences play a significant role in shaping attachment styles, which in turn influence adult relationships. Many men who find themselves addicted to emotionally detached women often have anxious attachment styles developed in early life. If a man grew up with a parent, particularly a mother, who was inconsistent in showing love, sometimes present, sometimes distant, it can create a blueprint for love that equates emotional unavailability with affection. As an adult, he may subconsciously seek partners who replicate this dynamic, believing that love must be earned through effort and patience. Furthermore, there is an element of self-worth tied to this addiction. Many men, whether consciously or not, feel that winning over a woman who is emotionally unavailable validates their worth as partners. The belief that if only I can make her love me, then I am truly valuable drives the relentless pursuit. It is not just about attraction, it is about proving something to themselves, to the woman, and sometimes even to the world. Cultural narratives also reinforce this pattern. Popular media is filled with stories of the emotionally unavailable woman, mysterious, independent, and unattainable, who is eventually won over by the persistence and love of a devoted man. Whether it is movies, literature, or real-life anecdotes, men are repeatedly told that perseverance in the face of emotional distance is not only romantic but noble. This messaging makes it easy to mistake toxic cycles of rejection and hope as signs of deep, passionate love rather than dysfunction. Additionally, there is a biological explanation for this addiction. The male brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to pleasure and reward when pursuing something that feels just out of reach. The highs and lows of trying to win over an emotionally detached woman create a chemical cocktail in the brain that mimics drug addiction. The reward pathway is activated when even the smallest sign of affection is given, reinforcing the desire to keep chasing. This neurological loop makes walking away from an emotionally unavailable woman feel almost impossible, as the brain has been conditioned to crave the fleeting reward she provides. Power dynamics also play into this addiction. Some men view emotionally detached women as a challenge, a test of their masculinity and ability to control situations. The ability to make a distant woman show emotion or affection is sometimes seen as a measure of dominance or success. This dynamic can be particularly strong in men who are used to being in control in other areas of their lives, whether in their careers or social spheres, but find themselves powerless in romantic relationships. The desire to tip the balance of power in their favor can keep them engaged in the pursuit far longer than is healthy. Another important factor is the idea of fixing someone. Many men have a subconscious savior complex. They want to be the one who changes a woman, who breaks down her walls, and who is ultimately responsible for her transformation. The fantasy of being the exception, the one man she finally opens up to, can be deeply intoxicating. It creates a sense of purpose and mission within the relationship, even if it is ultimately futile. Moreover, emotional detachment in women can sometimes be mistaken for confidence, independence, and strength. While these traits are indeed attractive, there is a fine line between genuine self-sufficiency and emotional unavailability. Men who are drawn to the former often end up entangled with the latter, confusing distance for depth and aloofness for mystery. It is also important to acknowledge the role of self-sabotage. Some men, particularly those with low self-esteem, may seek out emotionally unavailable women as a way to reinforce their own negative self-perceptions. If deep down they believe they are unworthy of love, being with someone who refuses to fully engage emotionally confirms this belief. The pain of rejection, while distressing, is also familiar and therefore strangely comfortable. Social media and modern dating culture have exacerbated this issue. With the rise of ghosting, breadcrumbing, and the illusion of infinite romantic options, emotionally detached behavior has become more common and even normalized. Men who crave meaningful connections may find themselves especially addicted to women who play by these modern dating rules, giving just enough attention to keep them engaged, but never enough to create real security. The solution to breaking free from this addiction lies in self-awareness and healing. Men who find themselves repeatedly drawn to emotionally unavailable women must examine their own attachment styles, childhood influences, and patterns in past relationships. Therapy, self-reflection, and building self-worth independent of romantic validation are crucial steps toward breaking the cycle. Recognizing that love should not be a constant battle, that affection should not be earned through suffering, and that emotional availability is not a weakness, but a strength, can help men shift their focus toward healthier relationships. True connection comes from mutual effort, vulnerability, and emotional security, not from an endless chase that leads only to frustration and heartbreak. Ultimately, the addiction to emotionally detached women is not about the women themselves, but about the underlying psychological and emotional needs within the men who pursue them. By addressing these needs and redefining what love and connection should feel like, men can free themselves from this destructive cycle and move toward relationships that are truly fulfilling, stable, and nurturing. Breaking free from the cycle of addiction to emotionally detached women is not an overnight process. It requires deep self-examination, an understanding of personal triggers, and a willingness to challenge long-held beliefs about love, relationships, and self-worth. Many men who find themselves trapped in this pattern do not realize that they are, in essence, chasing an illusion of love, validation, and completion that is constantly just out of reach. The more they chase, the further it seems to slip away, leaving them feeling frustrated, inadequate, and emotionally drained. One of the first steps in breaking the cycle is understanding that true love does not come from struggle. There is a common belief that the harder one works for love, the more valuable it is. However, love is not a prize to be won or a mountain to be conquered. Healthy relationships are built on mutual effort, respect, and emotional reciprocity. A woman who is truly interested and emotionally available will not require endless pursuit, nor will she leave a man feeling uncertain about where he stands. Recognizing this distinction is key to rewiring one's approach to love. Healing also involves recognizing personal attachment styles and how they influence relationship choices. Many men who are addicted to emotionally unavailable women have an anxious attachment style, meaning they crave deep connection but also fear abandonment. This creates a dangerous cycle when paired with a partner who is avoidant, someone who fears intimacy and tends to withdraw when things become too emotionally intense. The anxious avoidant trap is one of the most common dysfunctional relationship dynamics, and unless both individuals work to heal, the pattern will continue indefinitely. One of the hardest but most necessary realizations is that chasing someone who refuses to fully engage is a form of self-abandonment. Every time a man ignores his own emotional needs to accommodate the unpredictability of an emotionally detached woman, he is sending himself the message that his feelings are secondary. Over time, this erodes self-esteem and creates a dependency on external validation. The truth is, a man should never have to convince someone to love him. Love, in its healthiest form, flows freely between two willing partners. Developing self-worth independent of relationships is another crucial step. When a man's sense of value is tied to whether or not he can win over an emotionally unavailable woman, he places his self-esteem in the hands of someone who is unlikely to provide the validation he craves. This is why many men feel a sense of emptiness even when they do finally receive affection from such a woman. It was never really about her, but about the internal wounds he was hoping she would heal. True self-worth comes from within, not from external validation. Part of healing is also learning to recognize red flags early on. Emotionally detached women often exhibit certain behaviors that, when identified early, can save men from unnecessary heartache. These behaviors may include inconsistent communication, a reluctance to define the relationship, an avoidance of deep emotional conversations, and a tendency to withdraw when things become too close. Instead of seeing these as challenges to overcome, men must learn to view them as indicators of incompatibility. Breaking the addiction also requires an understanding of what a healthy relationship actually looks and feels like. Many men who are used to chasing emotionally unavailable women mistake emotional intensity for love. They are drawn to the highs and lows, the uncertainty, the longing, mistaking these emotional roller coasters for passion. However, love should feel secure, stable, and peaceful. It should not be a constant battle for attention or affection. Learning to appreciate the beauty of consistency, open communication, and mutual respect is a significant shift for those who are accustomed to dysfunctional dynamics. Another powerful tool in this journey is self-reflection. Taking the time to journal, engage in therapy, or speak with trusted mentors can help uncover the deeper reasons behind these relationship patterns. Questions like, what do I truly believe about love? What was my earliest experience with affection and emotional security? And do I feel worthy of love that comes easily? Can reveal important insights. Often the patterns that seem to repeat in adult relationships are rooted in early childhood experiences that have gone unexamined. Surrounding oneself with healthy examples of love can also be transformative. Many men who chase emotionally unavailable women do so because that is the only kind of relationship dynamic they have ever seen or experienced. Whether through family, friends, or media portrayals, their idea of love is often shaped by examples of dysfunction.